Welcome back to the What the Falk Sunderland review show. 4 points over the Easter period, including a morale-boosting win over Cardiff in Wales on Monday, has given us a little bit of a glimmer of hope that maybe, just maybe, the season isn't done yet. We didn't really have the space, the time to record or edit after the whole game, so we're going to try and go over the Easter period in full as best as we can and give our thoughts on maybe the immediate future moving forward, and obviously as we think towards next season, maybe even delve into that. But we've got two guests, one regular that is always here. Dave Lawrence, how are you doing? You all right?
Yeah, not bad at all, thank you, mate. It's nice result. Sun shining down here. Happy days.
And second of all, he's decided to join us after a win. Oh, shock. Brad, how are you doing? Are you all right?
Yeah, a little bit rough. I literally woke up about 6 minutes ago and then realised you sent me the link. So I was like, oh. So, yeah, I'm not bad. Good to be back. Like I say, I don't come on while the results are shit, apparently.
And Ross has been banned for reasons unknown. He will never be back. We hate Ross. Dave, I'll come to you first. Obviously, it's kind of hard. We were talking about before the game, talking about the whole game, and then talk about the Cardiff game, because essentially, like, footballs and opinions and reactions are only as quick as like a 90 minutes basically. And I think if it was the other way around, obviously it would feel a little bit more of a kick in the knackers, to be honest. But obviously we've pulled out a big win yesterday, a really important win, probably a one that was, well, not probably, it was far deserved, following on from that game which was crackers on Friday. But in terms of the last two games in the Easter period as a whole, how are you feeling sort of Tuesday morning about the last two games?
Yeah, it is always the hope that kills us, isn't it? And it's just lingering on. It's given us that possibility that we might just sneak in there. This can't complete. Cardiff, by the way, were bang average, like torrid, absolutely torrid. To be fair, they were disgustingly bad. But we shouldn't take that away from us. Again, just to echo what I say every week. If we had a centre forward, we scored 4 or 5 goals yesterday, which I suppose the frustrating part of it. But no negative other than the fact that if we don't squeeze into the playoffs, it's just a season of what ifs. But for equilibrium and to kind of bring the balance back, listen, it's been an absolute privilege of a year, because we haven't even been close to being dragged into it. And yeah, we've played some lovely football. Should have gotten the Puskas Award for the goal at Reading. There's tenfold positives compared to negatives. So yeah, another good result. Great for, Easter Monday, sunshine, and 2,600, 2,800 fans. Yeah, club is well and truly on the up, and enjoying every minute of it, to be fair.
Yeah, I think the same. In terms of, you talked about having a striker. Yes, yeah, it honestly felt like you're right. If Ross Stewart's there, that's potentially a 4-0. And I suppose that's, I don't want to touch on it too much because it's kind of gone, even though we kind of have to, because it's the last two games we're discussing. But the whole game, for example, like, that's the one game in age that I've gone, well, we definitely didn't need a striker at that point, but I felt like we could have done with a couple of new centre-halves during that game. And so that game sandwiched in between a clean sheet at Cardiff, which, yeah, I wasn't massively impressed with them. They were one of the worst sides we came up against in both games, to be completely honest. We were really bad in the home game. But before that was Burnley. It's not easy to get a clean sheet away from home in this division, no matter who you're playing against. And to get one at Burnley, well, we're the only side to do it. And then in between that, against Hull, who are the same as us, don't really have any strikers, we go and concede 4, but then we look amazing going forward. So it's, I was, I think, quite obviously quite angry about the game on Friday, but I feel a lot better about the game yesterday, because I think we've said a few times on this when we've had a bad performance. And to be fair, if you kind of pick through it, there's been 5 or 6 when you've gone, that wasn't great. Especially that period of Coventry, Rotherham, Stoke. But the response has always been really good. And I think that's probably where the the proof is in the pudding, the way Sunderland are responding to sort of poor runs or poor games or just circumstances going against us. I mean, we've got no centre-halves yesterday and kept a clean sheet. I know it was against an average team, but like I said before, you don't keep clean sheets in this division away from home unless you've played well in defence. But Brad, same question to you. Obviously, it's probably hard for me to look back on the game on Friday because as great a game it was, I was actually fuming about it. But when you win a game a couple of days later, you keep a clean sheet, you kind of forget about it. But what were your thoughts on sort of the Easter period in full and particularly the game against Cardiff yesterday?
When you look back at the Easter period, it's been quite exciting. I know we threw it away, and we look back on that at the end of the season and think, oh, that we're 10 seconds away from them 2 points, which might have got us into the playoffs. But it was a very exciting game on Friday. It was just a comedy of errors, I think, from both teams at times. No one wanted to keep hold of the ball. But yesterday, again, like you touched on, it's credit to the lads how they bounced back and kept it organised at the back. I thought Danny Bart was absolutely immense yesterday once again. I mean, he's potentially probably our player of the season. If you take the 4 goals that we conceded against Hull and the 5 against Stoke, I thought he was excellent. But yesterday, like you said, Cardiff were poor. Like they weren't just bang average. They were probably one of the worst teams I've seen, especially first half. And it shows when they go and make a double substitution on 35 minutes and then haul someone else up at half time, Connor Wickham. And I just want to mention that people were saying we should have maybe signed him. Thank fuck we didn't. I'd rather have no striker than have him because he was absolutely atrocious. And I don't necessarily want someone playing with us who's got a man bun. But yeah, 4 points from there.
Well, I'm sure we had like 3 episodes of this where we went, just sign any big striker, but man bun, no, not at all. No. I watch a film with Jake Gyllenhaal in, but not the ones where he's got the man buns in. Great actor, but the man bun just killed it. Can't concentrate.
But no, 4 points over that Easter period. It's a good return for where we are. And look, we've got 2 big home games coming up against teams right down there. And then we wrap it up with 3 teams. The season ends with 3 teams in and around us. So if we can go and win the next 2 at home, I'm not saying that we will because I think we've only won 5 or 6 all season at home. But there's a chance there. If we go and win the next 2, we can go in them last 3 games against teams around us and think, right, we have a good chance here. And let's just see where it takes us. It's give us a chance and it's give us a bit of hope. And I was looking forward to a drama-free end of the season for once in the 31 years that I've been alive. But that's not going to happen. I think they might still sneak in, to be honest. Because if you look at the fixtures, all the other teams are playing each other as well. So teams are going to drop points, especially over the next 2 games. If we're in with a shout after the next 2, I think it's time to get excited again.
I know. And you know what I quite like? I mean, we're going to go further into how many points we think we'll get and stuff at the end. But yeah, there was a bit of hope there actually, and I think that, you know what, it's born out of not. We're all saying the word hope, but it's born out of the fact that we're actually a really good side. And all the things that we've discussed about how the club's on the up and all the sort of things we've gone into over the season. But I think ultimately what it really boils down to is we're a good side. And it's felt like it's been a while since we've been able to say that. I actually enjoy watching us. Not always when we give away penalties in the last minute against Bristol City and Hull and all that. That annoys me a bit. But I think in terms of especially our attack and play, Dave touched before about the Puskas Awards. There's probably about 3 or 4 goals I could quite easily nominate. What Huddersfield, the goal that Jack Clark scored against Hull on Friday, and of course the goal against Reading. I think when we're in full flow, we tear teams apart. I touched on a player there, Jack Clark. He was unplayable on Friday. Absolutely unplayable. And I think a lot of the plaudits went to Danny Barton, rightly so. Yesterday, he manned the defence where he was the only big towering centre-half. But Dave, I think, I don't know if it is a debate, to be honest. I know some people are not huge fans of Jack Clark. I think it's more of a minority. But for me, when we're talking about players of the year, he doesn't get mentioned enough. I thought he was brilliant again yesterday. I think he absolutely tortures teams, and I'm absolutely not surprised that he's been linked to clubs in the Premier League. But how vital is it that we make sure that any of those bids that do come in the summer, which I think they will, we just say, no, thank you very much, unless you're going to pay us 30 million. Because I think in today's market, on current form, his potential, he could be worth a lot.
Definitely. He's I don't know. He's one of those players that Sunderland have never, certainly in my time of supporting them, have never really took a gamble on, because he can produce something from nothing, but he's also frustrating at certain times of the game. But you need players like that. It's all very well having like defensive wingers and stuff like that, but the way that we're now trying to play football, he's creative, he's direct. Listen, some of the goals that he scored, some of the goals that he's laid on this season, are nothing short of bits of magic. And it, to be honest, reminds me a little bit of Alan Johnson when I was growing up, to be fair. I've got lots of time for him. And also the fact, you've just got to remember how young he is as well. He's not like 26, 27. The bit that probably lets him down a little bit, I noticed there was a couple of times yesterday. Don't get me wrong, he doesn't shirk the challenge, but he's just a little bit lightweight, isn't he? But he's a little bit kind of not filled out and stuff like that. And I suppose that's the bit that holds him back. But I think after the year or the season that we've had, I can't. This is the great thing that stands Sunderland in good stead, because where they're going to go, where they're going to get what we give them, yes, okay, they might get Premier League football. And let's say, for example, Wolves stay up, let's say Everton stay up, and let's say, I don't know, someone along them, Bournemouth. Let's just say them three stay up. If he goes there, are them three good clubs going to offer him much more than what we already offer him? I don't think they are. He's clearly settled. When we score a goal, you see the reaction of the whole squad. I know a few people have said, well, we're going to get bids left, right and centre. What, are we really worrying about Crystal Palace? Now, that might be like kind of me being massively biased towards Sunderland. But to go and play at Sellers Park in a relegation dogfight, or play for Sunderland, hopefully next year, push on even further.
You just said Sellers Park.
It's the Oh, we all know that's not getting edited out, and that's the title of the show this week, isn't it?
Oh, Sellers Park.
And it's 10 o'clock in the morning, so I can't even. I'm saying that. I have been around the local market and I have tried a few rums this morning, just little samples, so maybe that's what's done it. But yeah, I'm not worried. I think all the players that are there this year, apart from the loanees and stuff, I think they will feel as though they owe the club one good go at it. And that doesn't... Listen, of course, the club's going to... This is that the second time I've said listen today as well. What a treat. Get it edited out. They're going to accept 25 million if it comes in. There's no doubt about that. But I think he's been brilliant. I think he's quite shy. He's quite quiet. He just goes about his work. And I was watching a video the other day of... It was Danny Guthrie seems to have a lot of little coaching clip videos out at the minute, believe it or not. He's doing some academy somewhere, and he said the first time that he played against Hazard, he was one of those that he's not that big, he's not that strong, and he got kicked to shit. And it actually shows you a clip of Hazard's socks after the Reading game. And he has been absolutely hacked to shreds. There's blood coming off his socks. There's holes in his socks. And he said the great thing about Hazard was he just wanted the ball. Every single time, give him the ball and he goes again, no matter how many times you bring him down. And I see quite a lot of that in Jack Clark, to be fair. And I think that's a huge testament to him.
I actually agree. I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't think he's in the same quality, but we're talking about a very, very good player. But I get what you mean in terms of his, I think we said before, he never hides. And I think that was like earlier in the season. I don't agree that he's frustrating. I've got to be honest. I know some people do, like, and that's what I was alluding to before. I don't. I think he's got 8 goals and 8 assists for 3.5 million, which I don't even think we've paid up front. If I'm completely honest with you, that's an absolute steal at this level. It's just bizarre. For me, he's up there with a shout for our player of the year, without a doubt. I think arguably you could maybe say Danny Bart challenges him for it. But for me, Jack Clarke's been just outstanding. And I know people love Diallo, and I'd love Diallo to stay another season. I don't think he will. But for me, if you give me the choice between Jack Clarke and Diallo, maybe it's controversial here, but I take Jack Clarke every single time. Every single time. I just much prefer him. I'm a huge, huge fan. I don't find him frustrating in the slightest. I love his almost like arrogance that he can see, knows he's going to beat his man. And I know he doesn't always, but I kind of like that. It's arrogance from a winger. It's what you should be having. But Brad, I wanted to throw you another player here. I've been quite critical of A, the signing, B, the way that he's played, and C, the fact that I said, I think it was it was after the Luton game, I said, look, it's just obviously not going to work. He scored on Friday. He didn't start yesterday, but he came on and he actually held the ball quite well, I thought. Joe Gelhardt's been all right over Easter. Is there an opportunity where maybe Gelhardt can have an important say in the run to the end of the season?
Yeah, I think so. I think he was thrown in and given a role he was should have never ever been playing. But as time's gone on, he has seemed to have not as dropped deep as much. He's starting to learn how we are playing. I mean, yesterday he had a glorious chance. He was in the middle of the box, centre of the goal, and he took a touch. And that's just like, just hit this first time, man. But ultimately, it hasn't cost us. I think his performances have improved. There's no doubt about that. He likes to get on the ball. Like you said, he wants the ball into his feet. He just needs to start learning to get the ball over the top and run onto it, not to come looking for it every single time. But there is a good player there. We spoke about it the other week when we were saying we're feeling a bit sorry for him. There is definitely a player there, and I think that was his second goal he scored for us now, and it was a good finish. He was in the right place. He was in the centre of the box. Great assist from Jack Clarke when I don't think he meant it. But no, I think he will start again. The next couple of games, I think it was just the fact of the game came on 3 days. 2 games in 3 days over that period. I think that's why there was a few changes yesterday, if we agree with them or not. Ultimately, it's worked. We've won. I think he'll get another couple of goals. And the next 2 games, like we've said, that they're against teams down the bottom. We're going to have a lot more of the ball. I would fancy him to get a couple. And I wouldn't have said that a few weeks ago. I think we sort of resigned the fact, just think, we're just going to have to see the season out without any sort of striker. But I've seen enough there in the last couple of games, especially Friday. I think he started slow, but the whole team did. But as soon as he got his goal, you just seen the confidence come out of him. Like, he was just oozing, and he was all over the place for us. So yeah, I think he's got as good a chance of anyone who's going to be playing that role to make an impact going forward. And the next couple of games, especially, look, the free hits really. They're sort of like, let's make sure that we can go in the last 3 games with something to play for, and just play the way we have been. But let's feed him, because he has got talent. He can hit a ball. So yeah, he's impressed me the last couple of weeks. Really has.
Yeah, same. I'm the same. I think he's not been outstanding, but I've seen like flickers of improvement. And with 5 or 6 games to go, then that's good. And sort of fair play to him for, similar to what we said about Jack Clarke before. You know, whereas Jack Clarke has produced often, and the odd one bad game he's had in like 10 or whatever, he's not hid. I don't feel Gelhardt up until recently shown too much for various reasons, not all his own fault, but he's never really hid. I think he's always tried to get on the ball, probably too much at points, and he's certainly never shirked his pressing and stuff like that. So, fair play. I hope he does something towards the end. And I definitely have to say, I think there's been a slight improvement and a goal, which ultimately is going to be really important for a player in that position. By the way, I checked Connor Wickham's hair. It doesn't look like a man bun. It looks more like a perm.
No, there was definitely this little golf ball sat on top of his head because our Archie said, "Dad, why has he got hair like Gareth Bale?" I said, "Well, he might do. He doesn't fucking play like him." No, it's definitely a stupid little man bun that he's got sat right on the top there.
Oh, no. I mean, do like I've got weird hair myself. But yeah, not for me. Moving on swiftly. The Tony Mowbray syndrome. Now, obviously, Dave had Blackburn fans, Coventry fans, people who'd had Tony Mowbray manage them before, telling us about the drop-off from Tony Mowbray that's going to happen. And we got beat off Stoke. We lost those games against Rotherham and Coventry. But we'll go up. There's Tony again, and fans of those teams. And I think from within Sunderland, we knew that there was more to it, i.e. the striker situation, the fact that decisions hadn't gone our way. And I think the Coventry game for me, the first goal, going back to that was, in my opinion, a couple of fouls. But there was reason behind why we were winning, and I don't think any of us necessarily pointed the finger directly at Tony Mowbray outside of maybe one or two mistakes that he'd made. Now, we're coming into sort of April time, still got a chance at the playoffs. I think, in truth, without a striker, we were never going to be sitting at fourth. Inside the club, Dave, I think we're now how many months on from his appointment? So August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May. So we're 8-9 months into his tenure. I've got to be honest with you, I'm delighted with Tony Mowbray. I haven't noticed any drop-off that I didn't expect. I didn't expect Tony Mowbray to work miracles with no strikers and no Ross Stewart and Ellis Sims getting recalled and keep us fourth. You would hope he did. I think he needed to be helped out by recruitment. But I think looking at Tony Mowbray's job this season, I think he's been one of the signings of the season. If I'm completely honest, and I really want to give him credit. I think whenever I've had a bit of a red flag about him, it's disappeared within about a game, incomprehensibly disappeared. But how much credit do you think Tony Mowbray deserves for not just the football we've produced this season, but continuing that team spirit after all the issues he's had, including we've lost our manager. He had to keep the team spirit with that. We've lost Ellis Sims. We lost a striker. We've lost Roscoe. We lost Dan Ballard. We've lost so much stuff. There's been so many things that have gone against us this year, and we're sitting here talking about potentially getting in the playoffs. How much of that needs to go to credit needs to go to Tony Mowbray, Dave?
Massively. I think me and you were quite vocal on the fact that we were uninspired when he got appointed. And fair play to him. He's come in. He's maintained, if not better, the standard that we already had. Definitely in terms of morale and no die. What? Never say die attitude.
No die attitude.
No die attitude. No die today. You watch the irony. I'm gonna die today now. Thanks for that.
This podcast is dedicated to the ghost of Dave Lawrence, who said no die today and then died.
I tell you what, you can make a song out of that.
I died.
Isn't it ironic?
Nothing in that song's ironic, by the way.
No, not at all.
Anyway, enough of a
We digress.
As always.
So yeah, massive. The one thing I'll say it, and I've said it since we got Reedy, all them years ago. You need someone who understands the area and understands the people, and Mowbray just gets it massively. He's a little bit different, certainly outwardly. He's very calm, composed, but I get the feeling that behind the scenes he's very passionate, vocal, telling the boys exactly how it is. Yeah, so much credit for me. I think the football's improved under him, if I'm honest. I think the attitude, the core basis of the attitude was already there. I think the football's has flourished under him. And trying to fit the right people into the jigsaw puzzle with every problem that we've had this year, exactly like you've just said. I think huge credit to him. I wonder. I'd love to sit with him as like one of his confidants and actually hear what he thinks, whether he thinks to himself, I really want to have a good go at these playoffs and try and get there, or whether he's kind of downplaying it like he says to us lot and we'll see what happens. I'd be really intrigued. I'd love to know that. Yeah, absolutely huge credit. And if we don't make the playoffs this year, which, like I say, the hope kills us, I'm already looking forward to next year and seeing who he gets in with the recruitment team and seeing how far we can kick on, to be honest.
Yeah, same, absolutely. I think things are just positive at the minute, like, and it's nice. It feels like whenever there's been a wee bit of negativity, then suddenly we jump into like immediate positivity that makes us feel better about everything. But look, my predictions are terrible. I somehow called a 0-0 draw at Burnley. Like, I don't know how I called that, but that's kind of my one that I've had writing about the past 6 months, I think. But I just wanted to look through the last few games, Brad, really, and we've talked about flirting with the playoffs, getting in the playoffs, and X, Y, and Z. It's going to be a challenge, right? Just obviously at the time of speaking, we're 10th on 58 points. Blackburn Rovers somehow on 62, 4 points ahead of us. We've played a game more than them, but then also Millwall are also on 62, and we're on the same game as them with a better goal difference in both those sides. So we need them to lose a few games. We need to win a fair few, and we need a bit of luck on our side as well. But looking at the last sort of games that we have here, in terms of the matches, we've got Birmingham at home on Saturday, Huddersfield at home on the Tuesday, West Brom away the following weekend, then Watford at home, and then Preston away. There's teams in around there that I'll be wanting to potentially push for the playoffs themselves. Obviously, you've got Preston sat in 7th, which means it could be an interesting game. West Brom sat a point behind us in 11th, and Watford sat 2 points behind us on 56. West Brom playing 1 game less than ourselves, I think. But when we look at those games, Brad, 1, 2, 3 home games, 2 away. We've been better away from home, to be fair, but realistically, how many points not do you think we can get? Because in reality, we can get maximum points. Of course we can. All those teams are beatable, but we also can get beat off all those teams. How many points do you think we'll get? And I know you said you think we'll sneak in, but what needs to happen for us to sneak in your opinion?
Going to sound... we need 15. We need to win every single game. But we're more than capable of doing that. I think you said Blackburn's got a game in hand. Did you? Their game in hand, I'm sure, correct me if I'm wrong, is against Burnley. So it's a local derby. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. If I'm being honest, I think we'll get 12. I do think we'll get 12 points. It could be enough. Like I said, a lot of the teams around us, I think someone put on Twitter yesterday, they're all playing each other. So there are going to be teams dropping points. We're one of them that's playing teams in and around us. I just feel like how we've performed against some of the teams, especially away from home, we're more than capable of beating them. Watford are probably the most hit-y-miss team in this division. And if we can apply ourselves correctly, we'll give them a good stuffing, I think. I've just got a feeling about it. The final home game of the season. And if we get to the final home game of the season and look, and it's maybe just out of our hands, but it's still a possibility, that's the stage of my life. It'll be rocking, absolutely rocking against Watford. And that could work in our favour. I know it's an old cliche in football. The next game's the biggest game, but dear me, the game on Saturday against Birmingham was absolutely massive. I think Birmingham, they're not one of the worst teams in the league, but they haven't really pulled up any trees this season. So if we can apply ourselves correctly, where are Birmingham in the league? Are they maybe it's just below Hull? Probably no danger of going down.
Birmingham, to my knowledge, I'll double check, but I'm pretty sure they're about the 17th. They're actually 17th. They are 9 points clear from safety.
Right, so that's going to be pretty much another game similar to Hull, where they're not going to go down because the teams below them aren't going to pick up 9 points in the last 5 games. There's no chance about that. So it's got the makings of another quite an exciting game. Let's just hope that we don't ship 4 goals. Hopefully, Mrs. O'Neill has had a baby and he's back. But yeah, 5 games to go. It's impossible to predict with us because, like you've just said, over the last few weeks we've had a scud enough Hull. Stoke. We conceded 4 against Hull. We lost against Rotherham, but then we go and put on a performance away at Norwich and Burnley, and like we did yesterday, it's impossible. But I'm hopeful of 12. But realistically, I think we need to win every single game. And look, we're capable of it. I mean, what's given me a lot of confidence lately is how Tony Mowbray has been able to change. Right, we set up different against Burnley. It worked perfect. Yesterday, we had 1 fit centre. Oh, we had 2, but apparently Anderson is not allowed to play. We had 1 fit centre half, and he's adjusted it to a back 3, and it's worked. It worked quite well, especially we were back 3, but when we were on the defence, you always seen Gooch was tucking in at one side. So it worked. It worked well, and it's given me confidence that he can tinker with the team, albeit he hasn't got the personnel to do so as much, but he can tinker it to adjust to who we're playing. And that bodes well for us. Like I say, the next 2 games are at home, and they're massive, absolutely massive. And I just hope the fans get behind the lads as well.
I've said between 7, 8, and 9. I'm not quite as confident, but I think, and look, the Huddersfield game, I think in particular, is really tough. I think games at home, for some reason, seem to be a bit more tough for us. We've won 6 this season, and we've been kicking the arse away from winning 8 because of the Bristol City games and the Hull games. Actually 9 technically because of the QPR game you can class as well, which I think is what's going to come back to bite us in the backside, because ultimately there's 6 points there, give or take 20 seconds here or there, quite literally, where you're putting us on an extra 6 points, and then all of a sudden you're looking at where we are in the league. We would have been 64 points. We would have been 5th off top.
There's 2 home games, Graham, that I will go back to, and it's not them ones. The 2 home games I'll go back to this season that has absolutely crippled us was Blackpool and Preston in quick succession.
Yeah.
2 0-0s when we have dominated the ball and ultimately did not have anybody in the box. And that was the early stages, I think, of not having a striker. But when I look back at it, I know we've had ones where we threw games away, and look, that can happen. But the fact that we absolutely bullied them all over the park and we got 2 0-0s back to back crippled us, because they weren't in great form then either. They weren't. And we all said these are 2 massive games where I think we were just starting to believe, because I think we were sat 3rd or 4th.
Mm-hmm.
We're thinking, right, let's see how we can get. And it was just, I think that one proper, in my eyes, sort of deflated us for a little bit. And it was that was the start of thinking, oh fuck, we haven't got a striker. But look, we've reacted well, and yes, we've threw points away. But them 2, I'll always look back on and think they fucking crippled us.
I do think as well. I mean, we're talking about things that was probably going to cost us the playoffs in the end. But I mean, look, just devil's advocate. I'm very much I think people know I'm very much, you can't choose when you get promoted. I feel this season's a bit of a missed opportunity. But look, just to give balance and devil's advocate, I think there's loads of games where we've won because of what we've done as well. Like, won games because of how well we've played and done stuff. We can't just concentrate on the times when it hasn't worked out, because there's been so many times it has. And ultimately this season, even if we finish like an annoying point off the playoffs or something like that, yeah, it's hard not to look back at the games I've mentioned, the games you've mentioned, Brad, but I think ultimately it'll bode really well for the future, and we're delighted. But just to give you a little bit extra hope, before I ask Dave what he thinks, and this is going to be total 100% unadulterated hope, because it's not just about who Blackburn play, but I did have a little look at Blackburn's fixtures, because essentially they're the team we need to catch. Hull at home, and then Coventry at home, Preston away, Burnley at home, Luton at home, and Millwall away. I'm going to I know I said between 7 and 9. I'm going to say we get more points than Blackburn. And I'm going to go as far as that. If that means we get in the playoffs, class, unexpected. Don't think we'll win them, so I don't think it really matters. But ultimately, I think we'll get more points than them. And it depends on where they finish, whether we end up in the playoffs. Now, completely convinced myself that now I need to book a holiday to London in May. And Dave, are you feeling as confident? What are your thoughts on the last sort of fixtures we've got? How many points can we get? Or are we just kind of like, is this just a pipe dream? Or is it maybe on?
I'll give you it as maybe on, based on what you've just said. I think we'll end up with 10 points between now and the end of the season. So, yeah, I guess, it's that leaves us just short, doesn't it? If they ended up with 7 points, what does that leave us missing out by if we get 10? Missed out by a point? That makes sense. Then, yeah, horrible. So yeah, I think we're on for 10 points. I hope Brad's right. I genuinely hope it's 12, and I hope that your part becomes true and they're on 7. And yes, we pip them by a point. That'd be lovely. Because who knows what will happen in the lottery of the playoffs.
If we don't know, Dave, it's all right, isn't it? If we don't make the playoffs, it's fine.
And that's where you've got to take the passionate and biased side out of it. You've got to go, listen, it's frustrating. That's the third time today, by the way.
It is the third time you said listen.
It's almost as if I'm on one today. You've got to just see it. That was absolutely brilliant. What a season. Human nature to think of the negative, unfortunately, isn't it?
How many points do you think we'll get, Graham?
I've said before, 7, 8 or 9. I think we'll get more than Blackburn.
You can't pick 3 different points. You need to predict.
We'll get more than Blackburn. That's all I'm saying. Get more than Blackburn. That's as far as I'm going.
Let's just hope it isn't. Like, if we're gonna miss out, let's miss out by 4 points. Let's not miss out by 1, because that's horrible. Absolutely horrible.
Ultimately, though, lads, I think again for about the 20th time this season, if not more, compared to about 3 or 4 negative ones. Positive podcast, positive feeling. Feels good at Sports Sunderland again. We're talking about hope as opposed to desperation and anxiety. So, fire on, plow on. All good. But Brad, Dave, thanks so much for joining me, mate.
It's been a pleasure.
Always a pleasure. Never a chore.